find inexpensive and effective ways to frighten their audiences. In the early 70s, USC Film School graduate John Carpenter showed up on the Hollywood independent scene with his writing partner, producer, and girlfriend, Deborah Hill. Together, they produced one of the most influential horror films of all time, Halloween. Halloween was filmed in 1978 over a 21-day period on the streets of West Hollywood and South Pasadena, California.
Halloween was set in Haddonfield, Illinois, and I'm actually from Haddonfield, New Jersey. And the whole concept was that we needed to find a town, a small town that had the same flavor of the town that I grew up in, that had that feeling of if you peel the veneer off the houses, you got to see sort of what was happening inside.
Don't forget to drop the key off at the Myers place.
I won't.
They're coming by to look at the house at 10:30. Be sure to leave it under the mat.
Promise.
Although it has been a while since Halloween was filmed, the South Pasadena neighborhood and house has remained virtually unchanged. The character of Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, lived in a simple clapboard house at the corner of Oxley Street and Fairview Avenue in South Pasadena. South Pasadena sits only 5 miles to the northeast of downtown Los Angeles. Its tree-lined quiet streets and simple American architecture make it a desirable place to live and an even better location for enterprising young filmmakers on a budget.
I think it's really important to find a location for a horror picture that gives you a sense of something's about to happen. And it could easily be very gothic, like The Haunting, you know, a haunted house high up on a hill. That's sort of the cliche. But we, in Halloween, wanted to go the opposite way. We wanted to go safe neighborhood. Nothing could possibly go wrong in this neighborhood. It has to be a beautiful place to live, but yet there are spooky things like the trees and stuff like that. Going against the cliche of what people think is a scary location is probably the hardest challenge. So we needed it to be Midwest. We needed it to look like it was brick houses, which are, you know, from the Midwest and from the East Coast, which are very different from the Los Angeles area. But we couldn't go on location. We had to shoot it in LA.
Jamie Lee Curtis's convincing performance as a sincere and likable babysitter, reinforced by the all-American look of her surroundings, helped launch her career.
Jamie Lee Curtis was really just a wonderful cast member. I mean, she was really the anchor in terms of her character as Laurie Strode. I wanted these three to be real girlfriends, and that's what John Carpenter strove for, and all those sort of walk and talk conversations that they had.
Hey, Linda, Laurie, why didn't you wait for me?
We did. 15 minutes. You totally never showed.
PJ Soles was just a tremendous actress. I wrote her lines, you know, on the line totally, and she just was constantly saying that. When the movie came out, audiences would be screaming at the screen, and they'd be saying, you know, don't go across the street, don't go there. And every time PJ Soles said totally, the audience would scream out, totally.
I love the characters. I love that I got to play Linda. I don't think I would have liked to have played Laurie because she was just too boring. In fact, Jamie Lee always used to say to me, you're so lucky, you get the fun part. I have to play the boring character. So I liked the fact that I had a little bit of a sexy scene. I was sort of the bad girl. I was the one that smoked. And it was fun because we all felt we were getting to contribute something to it. John accepted any line changes. Sometimes he would just say, go with the flow and see how the scene turns out, especially like that scene in the bedroom. He wanted something sexy, but he didn't exactly know what. So we all felt like we were contributing to something and working for an artist who had a vision, and he was allowing us to participate in that. That can be very unusual on movie sets.
Also unusual for an indie feature directed by relative unknowns was to have veteran actor Donald Pleasance in the cast. Although initially unnerved by the production team's lack of experience, the classically trained Pleasance quickly understood Carpenter's sense of humor and vision. Little did Pleasance realize at the time that his character of Dr. Loomis would soon be that of legendary status and resurface in numerous Halloween sequels for nearly 2 decades.
Being on location is really fun. It's much easier to make a movie on location than it is on stage, in my opinion, because you have so many choices when you're out there. It's moody. You know, you're fighting the sun or you're fighting the moon. Making it on a soundstage is so very sterile. So I really enjoy working on location. I really enjoy the challenges that a location gives me.
You're not supposed to go up there.
The Michael Myers house was an abandoned teardown located barely a mile from the Strode home. The beauty of this location was that it played to the common childhood experience of a seemingly haunted house in a very ordinary neighborhood. Shortly after filming, the house was rescued from demolition and restored and relocated down the block and across the street from where it once stood. Today, now a chiropractor's office, people from around the world visit the house and ask to walk its haunting staircase.
John and I were very young filmmakers who really were we weren't experimenting, we were really believing that we were making a bigger-than-life film.
Deborah Hill, like John Carpenter, was on the set every single day, and we all felt that the two of them had created this together. And they were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, so we felt that the two of them came together as a team, and she was there every day, every minute, fixing things on the set, you know, making sure the lunch was there and making sure the makeup was right, getting anything that anybody needed. So she was just as integral a part of the process as John Carpenter. And I thought, since this was the beginning of my film career, I was amazed that a woman could have so much presence and power on a set too.
South Pasadena provided John Carpenter with multiple locations that reinforced the simple hometown lifestyle they wanted to create. Here at the corner of Mission and Meridian Streets was where Jamie Lee and Nancy Loomis discovered that the hardware store had been robbed.
Hi, Dad. What happened?
Oh, somebody broke into the hardware store, probably kids.
Although most of the Halloween was filmed in South Pasadena, the climax of the story was shot on Orange Grove Street in West Hollywood.
Orange Grove is just absolutely one of the most beautiful streets. It's filled with big, big trees, maples, elms, oaks, very reminiscent of where I grew up and of the Midwest. It's kind of spooky because of the trees, and the homes are all sort of two-story clapboard or brick homes.
That actual street of Orange Grove seemed like a movie set, you know. I mean, it seemed like the back lot of Burbank or Universal to me, because it had a very kind of movie set feel about it. Those houses are great, and the trees, now they've even grown even more, and there's a kind of a spookiness.
Today, the infamous houses where Linda, Laurie, and Annie began their night of Halloween terror are still standing and can easily be found on Hollywood Star Tour maps.
Hello?
After P.J. Soles' untimely demise at the hands of Michael Myers, the script called for some tricky location selection to complete the story. The two houses sit across the street from each other and were chosen to accommodate specific screenwriting issues.
So we were able to set up the relationship between the house that Jamie Lee Curtis was babysitting in and the house that she actually went across the street to. And we were able to set up that juxtaposition so we can tell a really scary, creepy story.
P.J. Soles sometimes returns to this infamous street, this time accompanied by her daughter and friend. It isn't always easy to remember exactly what happened so long ago.
I think this might be it.
No, it's not that one.
No, I think it is. I think they remodeled it so people wouldn't, you know, ask
Yeah.
and stop by all the time and say, "Are you the Halloween house?" Then there was the one at Caddy Corner across the street. So I think that looks familiar. It's nice to be out here and nobody's here, because usually when you're filming, there's like all these trucks in the street and there's a million, I mean, you can really tell that, you know, there's a film production going on. So I haven't been here in so long. This is nice. There was a very, very creative atmosphere on the set. Working with John, you got the sense that he had a say and a piece of everything that went on, including the filming, the way the scene was structured, the look of the scene, the feel of the scene, and ultimately even the music. So it was as if Halloween was completely his work of art.
And we were trying to go for something more simplistic, and the storytelling was very, very simplistic. But it was fun. It was really fun. I wish I could make movies like that now.
John Carpenter and Deborah Hill successfully delivered a simple story in a terrifying way. And although the film cost only $320,000 to make, it has gone on to gross over $55 million worldwide, sparking an impressive 7 sequels. And it was the locations of Halloween, from the Strode house to Michael Myers' rundown childhood home, the hardware store, to the murder houses in West Hollywood, that were seamlessly combined to create a believable Midwest setting.